Hi, today I'm going to share a short presentation about pixeling and audiences. So I've come to believe that the audience building is the new opt-in form, and that doesn't mean you should get rid of your opt-in form, but I think they pretty much, at least from my perspective, they rank equally because of the high levels of completion rates you can get with very good pixeling. So what I mean by that is that if you create a decision tree that does not have an opt-in form, and in your ad you clearly state that no email required or something to that effect, you will get a reasonably high or very high completion rate. And along the way, you're creating these audiences, and then you can remarket to them. So the ultimate goal of marketing is obviously to have the highest lifetime values, to sell more things. And so it's not about capturing the lead. I think that that kind of makes it a little bit too simplistic, or the goal ends up making us not see opportunities like the way that pixeling works. So if you want to, I think the best approach is to test a pixeled version with an opt-in form versus one without an opt-in form, and then see which one works best for your market. So I just want to share here that another way of looking at pixeling, or I'm calling pixeling, um, is to see your audiences or audience, or to create audiences from the vantage point or the point of view or the context of each one of these third-party systems that exist. Now I've only added 5 in here, or I guess that's pretty much the same thing. But that's Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, AdRoll, there's Perfect Audience, and I'm guessing there must be another. There's a few more actually, but the big 3 would be most certainly be LinkedIn, AdWords, and or should I say Google? Sorry, Facebook and LinkedIn. And so now you can see who is coming to your site from 3 different vantage points or 3 different points of view. Facebook gives you its interests, demographics sort of a view. Google gives you its view, which is the other types of sites they're visiting and things of that sort, which you're going to get from Google Analytics. And lastly, now LinkedIn is starting to give that sort of similar sort of data, which would be more about the professions that they have. So wouldn't be good to know all 3 points of view. I'll leave AdRoll out for the purposes of keeping this simple, but do know that there are others out there. Is that you get the view of your audiences from 3 different perspectives, and that's the most important part about pixeling, is that it's free market research purely by just adding a little bit of script onto your website. So what I'm seeing right now is that a lot of people who are doing Facebook advertising only have a Facebook pixel, and whoever's doing Google AdWords wants to just put their conversion code. And then there's not a lot of guys that I've met who do LinkedIn advertising, but I'm assuming that if you're going to do LinkedIn advertising, you're going to have a LinkedIn pixel as well. And that's really shortchanging yourself and not taking a longer term view and not being very strategic about the way that marketing is being done. So it really should be adding all 3, because they're basically options on future value, or they're call options, I should say, and they're free call options actually that don't expire. So that makes them extremely valuable, because let's say a few weeks or a few months from now, you start learning, or you can start using data you've probably collected in LinkedIn into your AdWords campaign and Facebook campaign, even if you have no desire to ever run a campaign on LinkedIn. And vice versa. So let's say, for example, if Facebook starts giving you a whole bunch of data about what your campaigns in LinkedIn should be doing, you may change the languaging that you use, or you may change the sorts of places where you go and buy traffic from. Right. So it's important that that anytime you're doing any marketing, the very first thing you should be doing is setting up your Google Tag Manager container. And apart from adding scripts like Hotjar and the various scripts that are out there, or tags that are out there to show you user behavior on your site, like heat maps and all that sort of stuff, and I think that's great. But don't neglect the audience building capability of these three platforms in combination. And I think that's probably the most powerful way to learn about your market that there can be. Now, this is just a very quick video just to share why you want to set up a Google Tag Manager container. And in your Google Tag Manager container, as a minimum, you should have Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. Of course, you can add all the other ones in there too, but have these three as a minimum, and that way every time your tag manager fires, you'll end up with a lot of data being captured in these third-party systems, and give you the different points of view. Okay, so that's pixeling 101. Do not do anything online without the tag manager and the pixels. But I'm going to go a little bit more detail about how these pixels and cross-domain tracking works in LeadsHook. So, and why our tag manager we provide for you looks a little bit complicated, or we add a little bit of extra script in there. And the reason we're doing that is because of cross-domain tracking. Now, let's say that's your main site where you've got your LeadsHook decision tree embedded. So the visitor comes, he's going to hit mysite.com. It's got the IP address of 123.123.123.123, and Google will give it a unique client ID. So that's just called the client ID A, but it's a bunch of numbers. It's a series of numbers actually. And it gives you a unique client ID, and that you can see that in Google Analytics. So it fires basically, it issues a client ID to capture who this person is. So then our analytics starts tracking the person. As they move across your page or through your website, they'll be tracked with the same ID, so that you know that, okay, this person went to 5 pages when he arrived on Monday morning. Now, if you've got a decision tree embedded on that page, then obviously it's coming from a different IP address because we take care of that for you, and it's going to fire its Google Analytics pixel. And when it does that, it's going to issue its own unique client ID, and let's just call the unique client ID B. And unfortunately, now what's going to happen is that the referrer for your for this decision tree will look like the underlying page. And I guess technically that is correct, but we don't really, that's kind of useless information. Obviously, we know the referrer for the decision tree is going to be the underlying page because that's where it's sitting. It doesn't add any value to our marketing or to our analysis and analytics. So what we want to do is we want to grab the referrer from where they came from. So in order to do that, we need to trick basically Google Analytics to make the decision tree appear as if it's one and the same with the underlying page. And that's what I mean by cross-domain tracking, because this is going to be your account.leadshook.io, and it's going to have obviously its own IP address. So there are 2 different domains and there are 2 different IP addresses. So for that, we add a little bit of extra script in the Google Tag Manager container that we provide you inside LeadsHook to basically tell Google, wait and do not issue the client ID until the underlying page provides you the client ID. Okay, so it's just a little bit of script, and that way we don't issue. So that way Google Analytics does not come up with the client ID B. It uses the same one from the underlying site. So then when your leads or customers go through decision trees, it ends up looking nicely seamless. And in analytics, if you were to track this in analytics, you will see that the person landed here as step 1, and then there was step 2, and each of the nodes that the person goes through appears as a separate step inside the session on Google Analytics. Okay, now this may sound like a very technical presentation, and it is. Unfortunately, this is 2018, and tracking is no longer optional, nor is sloppy tracking an option. Okay, so please do use Google Tag Manager or any other tag manager for that matter. Google's not the only one that has a tag manager. There are a few others. It doesn't really matter what tag manager you use, as long as you are creating, if you are doing audience building, so you can grab different vantage points to learn more about your audiences in each respective platform, and they have their own capability to blow up your campaigns. using the AI machines that they have, but you can't do that unless you've pixeled them to start with. Now the Pixing 202, or I guess 102, or the second version or the advanced version, would be to fire specific events for each step within your decision tree or your funnel or your page, and that way you'll get even more granular data about what all this is about. Okay, but I'll leave that for a future video, and I'm going to be calling it Pixeling 202. So for now, please master Google Tag Manager. Add your various pixels in to get the different points of view, and this is why we supply you with a Google Tag Manager container, is because you have this cross-domain problem, and we take care of that for you by adding a little bit of extra script in the GTM container that you load into your account from inside of LeadsHook. More training about how to go about doing that is inside the getting the most out of LeadsHook training program. I believe it's under the tracking section. So please check out more videos on the specific how to go about doing that. Thank you, and bye for now.